This One Time in Real Estate, episode number 33, season 2. I think you want to remind us of something. What are you reminding us of?
Well, we were fortunate today that we were all reminded of a really nice saying, and so I wanted to remind everyone that ultimately people don't care what you say until they know how much you care. So, or they don't care what you say, they care how you make them feel. Like, they won't remember the things that you said, they'll remember how you made them feel. And I think that is very important to remember when you're in a role where you're client-facing.
Well, actually, definitely client-facing, but even an employee-facing or other-facing, because there's been times that I've made her feel bad. But you actually, I get it. I totally get it. And it's hard to undo those words. And so the thing is, absolutely, again, probably goes back to last week even, where we talked about expectations and other. Yeah. You may say, and it's also like proof over promise. Right. All these things are all interrelated. You may think I said some nice things, but if they didn't feel like you cared about them, you didn't feel like you treated them as your only client. By the way, the worst comment you can ever hear from a buyer is what?
Who are you working for, the seller or the buyer?
How do we know that? By the way, you had like a million different options, and we did not do that. What's the worst thing? Now, see, this is going to be easy. What's the worst thing a seller can ask you?
Are you working for the buyer?
Right.
Right.
And again, you may say nothing to the effect, but if they feel that, it's all that matters. We sometimes internalize it like, well, it doesn't matter.
Totally.
If they felt that way. So I've actually had self-awareness that it hasn't really, I've focused on changing certain things, but I've taken the approach like, it doesn't matter how I feel I treated Sarah. If Sarah feels like I treated her, it's about Sarah. I can't change Sarah's mind.
Totally.
So,
yeah, oh my gosh.
So how do you translate this? What's your story about buyers and sellers and all that good stuff?
Well, I think that I think a lot of the time, I think it comes down to listening, to communication, probably. I think that as an agent, it's so difficult because you want to get your buyer or seller to the finish line because you know that their goal is to own a home or sell a home. Like, that's why I'm here. Sometimes they'll confuse you or they'll mind trick you that you'll get to a point where you'll say, I'm not the one who told you to buy this home. Like, you came and found me. Like, I didn't come knocking on your door, but again, either way, you get to a point where communication is not effective for whatever reason. Like, ultimately, they need to, at the end of the day, have certainty and confidence and know that you care more than anything else. Because if they don't know that, they don't trust you and they're not going to want to work with you. And I think that by the point, like Mark's saying, if you get to a point where you're in a transaction and they're asking you who you work for, that's a gut punch because they don't trust you and they don't think you care about them. And so in that moment, regardless of if you have given them a reason to think that or not, you have to pause and say, I am so sorry if I've given you any indication that I am not in your corner working on your behalf. Like, let's talk through this and decide where we go from here. Like, pause. But I think people a lot of the time, especially in a sales format, sometimes they really want the sale. And so when they're listening to an objection, they're just thinking about what their response will be instead of listening to actually understand and say, like, okay, at the end of the day, if they don't want to buy the house, well, Mark used to say this and back in the day when I was an agent, and I would get frustrated because he'd be like, well, do you want to sell them this house or do you want to sell them a house? Like, if they don't buy this one, they're still going to buy with you, right? Like, stop thinking small. Like, it's okay. Like, if you can tell them that they don't have to buy this home and kind of like relieve them of that, and then sometimes they're going to trust you more because they know you're not selling them. So, but again, if you're just the whole time they're telling you something, you're just waiting to think about what you're going to say back to them, we're never going to get anywhere. Like, you have to actually listen and care, and it all kind of goes together.
And I think that's actually communication 101. There's those that are so anxious to respond that they don't even listen. Part of our, when we role play in that, acknowledge, ask. Acknowledge what you say and then ask a question. The reason is by me acknowledging what you said, I'm present. I have to. If I'm going to play that game, I have to. Now, you had said something and was interesting about certain words and other. You know what an interesting word for you? Now, I'm not going to test you, but you'll know when I say this. So it's not what you say. It's how you make somebody feel. Now, sometimes it is a word or two that you say that makes them feel really good or really bad.
Interesting.
And so the word I was thinking about, what? Just shoot it. Do you know the word?
Letters?
No. It's a word that will make you feel really bad.
Oof, I don't know it.
That me as your like team leader, like we're in a little bit different. Disappointed. How's that make you feel, that one word? You know what, Sarah? I'm disappointed.
Oof. I think if you are an empath and a people pleaser, that's a tough one.
Why?
Even more so than just like mad or like disappointed is like I had higher expectations. I thought you were going to do something more and like I'm so disappointed. Like that would be, I know that's a bad one.
So disappointed's bad. But it kind of goes into your thing. Hey, in order to not have the person on the other end be disappointed, probably it's a breakdown in communication. I'm disappointed. Maybe I had different expectations.
Right. And how am I going to know unless I ask?
We have to communicate.
Right.
But I know that you don't like that because I once said it. And did you cry or get mad? I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But I never used that again. I've never told her I'm disappointed again because that's not a good thing.
But then I used it once.
Oh,
that was also
I don't like those.
Not a good thing.
No, it's not.
But you know what? That's good because that's at least we were communicating.
Yeah, that's how you learn.
One thing you can always say.
Communication is critical, but absolutely. I love your quote because the impact of how you make them feel. By the way, the jubilation of making them feel incredible or making them feel bad. And the problem is, you have to make it about them, not about me.
Right.
And the reason is, I've always said it, and I just have something, I'm able to get over things. I can make somebody feel bad, not purposely, but just have a conversation that goes a little bit off, but I'm okay. Like 5 minutes, I'm done, I'm over it. But that person, and until you really put yourself in somebody else's position, in their situation, or actually like check the ego to make it about them, not about you. When it's about you, things very rarely go good. When you focus on the other person, their feelings, their communication, it's hard because everybody's different. We're in an organization. You have how many buyer agents approximately?
14. Is that right?
No, we have like 20 something. Yeah, we have 20 something. It's okay. But anyway, imagine. We'll use your 14, but I hope we don't only have 14 on the team. I'm sorry, all agents, not just buyer listings.
Oh my gosh!
All agents on our team.
24.
I was gonna say, I hope we don't just have 14, or we just had 10 quit. That would suck. But anyway, imagine
agents.
Imagine 14 agents, 10 agents, whatever number.
Right.
How many are all the same personality?
Oh. None.
None.
Right.
So you're having to manage the feelings, the emotions, the communication of 22, 24, 26, whatever that is. People. Easy or not easy?
Not easy.
But you've had to evolve, or what have you done to focus on words, which you have to still use words, and ensuring that you're able to move them, and they have the right feeling. By the way, the correlation is if you sell 30 homes in a year, 25 homes, it's the same different personalities that those agents. But let's focus on what you've done with because you're in a little bit different position. You're not necessarily working with buyers, you're working with agents. By the way, all different personalities. How have you learned to adapt?
Well, I will say right off the bat that I've been fortunate to watch you do it for a very long time, so that's helped a lot. But I think the kind of my running mantra that's helping me have conversations with agents and ultimately achieve their goals is, again, it's not about me. Like, I actually think more than ever being able to go in with that mindset and think, how can I best serve your goals and you know, what do you need from me in this moment? Because if I go in with any type of an assumption of what they need, I'm making an assumption. And then that typically doesn't work. And I want them to understand that it's about them and that, like, me being here is to support them in whatever they're wanting to do. And it has nothing to do with me, because it doesn't. Like, my goals, if I were relying, and I know Mark said this all the time, if I were relying solely on these individuals just solely to help me hit my goal, well, then I'm doing everybody a disservice, because that doesn't work. Like, I just want to be here for them and help them, and then collectively we all reach our goals together. So I think, and that's been a huge mind shift, and also just understanding that two other things. Number one, a lot of the time people aren't coming to me or asking me things because they want an answer. They just want to, like, figure it out on their own through talking to us. So that probably I should give credit to John Sheplack too, because we joke about that he doesn't give us answers. But a lot of the time we have these aha moments in his presence through him asking us questions that guide us there on our own, which I think is super cool, and I want to be more like that. So that's helped motivate. And then also the other one, which we've talked about before, is, like, what is your expectation of me when you're giving me this information? Do you want me to be here and just listen, or do you want answers or guidance? Like, because I think it's also a disservice to assume that when somebody tells you something that they want you to fix it. Like, they may not. They may just want me to be like, man, I've been there, I get it, like, hang in there, it's okay. And so I want to make sure that I'm meeting them where they're at in that situation, because I know sometimes it can bother me when I'm like, I'm not asking anybody to fix it, I just want you to sit here with me for a second before I get back up and get going again. So, man,
there's a lot to take in. You have a lot of nuggets. One of the first most important nuggets, it's not about me.
Right.
This is about you, and how can I help you achieve your goals? Mm-hmm. How can I get you to where you're at?
Yeah.
How can I meet you where you're at? Self-discovery versus you discovering. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people just want to be heard, don't want you to respond, cry on your shoulder, but that's it. But sometimes you have to know when it is. Some people want a pity party and they need you to kick them out of the... So, a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts. But it sounds like you asking one simple question. What are your expectations of this conversation?
Right.
What would you like? Do you want an answer, or are you just telling me?
Right.
Or do you want me to reinforce yes or no? But if you disagree, then that could be a problem. Because if you're like, I'm terrible, I'm a baby. So I'll ask my wife, how do you like this outfit? Like, so, yeah, I don't like that shirt. And then I'm whiny. But I should never have asked, because, like, she's like, you asked. And then I'm whiny like a little baby. But I, by the way, when she asks me, I'm pretty honest.
Are you?
Pretty honest. But you have to be careful. You have to know, because it's not always what you say. It's how you make them feel.
Exactly.
Sometimes you can make them feel bad. So, like, we rushed out Friday night, and 3 people out of the 4 of us in the family asked my wife about her hair.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
She didn't expect it to go that way. But there was some, like, challenges, and it did. Do you like dry your hair, or do you like sometimes let it dry itself?
Can never.
Well, she didn't have time to do it. She ran out of time for some numerous reasons, and then, well, how does it look natural. Not good. So anyway, you have to be careful.
Love that.
But
Yeah.
you don't ever let it just go?
I could. I have a.
Why?
bad
What's it
hair.
going to do? Frizz?
Yeah.
Really?
Like I cannot let it dry itself.
Really?
You'll know.
So like if you came in, I'd be like,
You'll know.
so I would probably use the wrong words. I'd be like, and then that wouldn't make you feel good. Really? Actually, I'd probably just, what happened over there?
Yeah, that would not be. But at least I appreciate your honesty. I'd be like, I know. I didn't have time.
It's cool.
So, yeah.
But if you ask, you better expect the answer. So you have to take both ways. But by the way, unprovoked, and
Yes,
it doesn't
not
always work
good.
well.
No, because they didn't ask for your opinion.
No, they
Right.
didn't. I sometimes
We know.
like to give opinions when I'm
Me
not
too,
asked.
guys. Me too, guys.
Feels fine. But then you realize, dang, that didn't make them feel too good. There's a lot of things I've done to not make people feel good.
Well,
but hey,
listen now. Look at you today.
yeah,
Amazing.
we're getting better.
Self-discovery.
I've often been told, and I think this would also correlate to reading the room.
Yes, right.
I've been told I don't always read the room the best. So I'm aware.
Yeah.
We'll see. If you've watched Curb Your Enthusiasm ever, sometimes I've been referred to Larry David. It's not the best compliment, but hey, we'll see. We'll see. Anything else?
I just think, I think interestingly enough, this conversation also leads back to expectations, which leads to asking questions. Like, we could do so many podcasts on just asking questions. I think people are afraid to ask because they're afraid to get the answer.
Ooh, they're afraid to get the answer that
Yes.
they. So we met with somebody, a new agent today, and I was very, how you doing? How you like it here? And by the way, it could have gone one of two ways. She could have said, I love it, or this place sucks. But by the way, why, if she thinks this place sucks, would I not want to know that?
Totally.
Now, she said it's great, it's awesome. And then I said, well, is it greater than what you or better than what you expected? About the same? And she actually said it's really getting better because I'm getting to know what's happening. I know what's going on. But here's the thing. You better be prepared to get the answer that you may not want by asking the question. But ultimately, that's how you move forward. Because if you don't know where somebody's at, you don't meet them where they're at, etc., you just are, it's really about you.
Oh,
I asked a question because it was about her,
Right.
to understand where she's at. And if she weren't happy, I'm going to see what I can do to nip it and get her happy versus being frustrated that she's not happy, because that's about us. If I'm frustrated about her, because it's her.
Well, and you asked her, how's it going? How are you feeling? What's your expectation versus what you actually have? What tools do you need that you may not have? By the end of that conversation, you made her feel good. So really, we just tied this podcast.
And I didn't even know.
I know.
Didn't even know. But that's actually part of leadership, and you're doing the exact same thing. But at the end of the day, it's about her, not about us.
Right.
I want her. And by the way, when you do that, probably you have somebody that understands you care.
Totally.
Because you can say, I care about you. But if you don't exhibit all those questions truly, I care about her.
Right.
I want her to be happy.
Yep.
And so when you do that, get in front of it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's awesome. It is. You like that music? I do.
I
It's
do.
fine.